So, first of all, our first head talker is Andrew Douch. Thanks, Andrew. Nice to see you.
Thank you. I heard of a university student, a Melbourne University student, who took a holiday job at the end of her first year working for the Department of Primary Industries in Spring Street. At the end of the holidays, her boss asked her if she'd like to stay on, and she accepted. Within 12 months, she'd been promoted and promoted again, past people who had years of experience and degrees in agriculture. And she had a job writing reports directly for the minister. And when I heard about this, I wrote to her and asked her for the secret of her success. And this is what she wrote back. How quickly the world is changing. Last year at EduTech, Eric Mazur said any question that can be Googled is an inauthentic contemporary assessment question. And I've quoted that a number of times at schools and at conferences, and every time that I have, I see teachers nodding their heads in agreement. You know, far from being the contentious statement that I think Mazur intended it to be, I think it voices the tacit, already held opinion of teachers everywhere. A little while ago at a conference, I asked teachers around their tables to workshop the question, what are the most important things for students to learn at school? And they generated quite a list, you know, as you probably expect, problem-solving skills, creativity, critical thinking skills, a growth mindset. But what nobody said was that it's important for students to know the first 20 elements of the periodic table. As a science teacher, for years I demanded my students to know the first 20 elements of the periodic table. Because how could you be a successful science student? How could you do any kind of science if you didn't know that stuff? Really. But now, hey Siri, what's the atomic number of sodium?
Looking. It looks like the atomic number of sodium is 11.
You know, I think you have to be living under a rock at the moment to not realise that there's this shifting of values. There's a volatility in the skill market. That certain skills that have always been useful are now at a premium, but other skills that used to be the most important have this rapidly declining value. And I think teachers get it. I think they get it. The problem is, the rub is, that although teachers agree with Mazur, although they recognise, I think everywhere, that teaching content-based knowledge is preparing students for an economy that's going away, although they get that, that's not reflected in what they do in the classroom. There's this sort of like a fundamental disconnect between what they believe on the one hand and what they do on the other. And I think there's a number of reasons for that disconnect. But chief among them is that teachers, and especially VCE teachers, are fully aware that in November their students are going to walk into an exam and have to answer questions that in other contexts could be Googled. And if they've spent their time preparing their students with problem-solving skills and creativity and critical thinking skills and a growth mindset, but they haven't prepared them to answer a question about the atomic number of sodium, their students won't do well on the exam. They'll short-circuit their entry into university, and it won't reflect too well on teachers and schools either. See, I think teachers at the moment are faced with a dilemma that hasn't faced teachers ever before. Which dilemma is this? Do we spend our precious, limited class time doing what's most important or what's most urgent? Do we prepare our students for their future or for the exam? Do we do what matters most or what matters first? Or is there a third option? Is there a way of multiplying our time so that we can do both without compromising the effectiveness of either? I was talking to a teacher a little while ago about using technology in the classroom, and they said, I'm so busy trying to get through the curriculum, I don't have time to use technology. I get what they meant, because I think actually that's a fairly common feeling among teachers. But it kind of seems like a strange statement to say, because I can't think of any other professions in which people perceive that technology slows them down, makes them less efficient, and gets in the way of what they're trying to do. In fact, I think it's fair to say that it's the professions in which there's the lowest tolerance for inefficiency. Those occupations where wasted time costs money and costs lives, those are the occupations that embrace technology the most enthusiastically. And yet somehow there's this pervasive feeling among teachers that we don't have time really to use technology, we don't have time to fit it in. Steve Jobs famously said that a computer is the equivalent of a bicycle for our minds. And I love that metaphor, a bicycle for our minds. A machine that will let us go from point A to point B with less effort and faster. Of course, the metaphor assumes that you're actually riding a bicycle. You've got to take your feet off the ground, you've got to assume a different posture, you've got to use different muscles. Because if you don't, if you keep walking, then having a bicycle doesn't make you more efficient. In fact, it makes you less efficient because you've got extra stuff to bring along with you now. And I think, to a large extent, that's what teachers have done with technology. Where other professions have replaced the old way of doing things with computers. What we've tended to do is bring computers, bring technology into the classroom, but still keep teaching doing exactly the things that we've always done. And so we haven't realised the productivity gains of technology. We're walking with bicycles. So how do we fix that? Well, actually, I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. Everything from formative evaluation to preparing students for practice exams to communicating with parents. There's inefficiencies everywhere that could be solved with freely available and free of cost software. But I think the lowest hanging fruit of all is best illustrated in the airline industry. If you've ever flown Tiger, you're familiar with this scene where in those precious moments before takeoff, this passionate airline employee stands up and demonstrates the safety equipment of the plane, and of course nobody listens, and that's getting even worse at the moment because now you don't even have to turn off your gadgets during takeoff. I was on a flight to Adelaide a little while ago, and I thought it would be interesting during the in-flight safety demo just to look around and see how many people are actually listening. So I took this photo over my right shoulder, and across the aisle from me, in front of him. I took this one through the gap between the seats in front of me. Now you're probably thinking it would have looked strange to the people on my left that I'm taking photos through the gap between the seats, but they didn't notice because they were too busy making out. There was literally nobody was paying any attention, including me, of course. It was quite farcical. And then the flight attendants, having done that, they walk back to their seats ready for takeoff, and they do this kind of, cursory glance. They're not even checking for safety very well because they don't have time. Compare that to what Air New Zealand's doing. I'm on a flight to Auckland, and instead screens came down from the ceiling, and the New Zealand All Blacks are singing the safety demonstration to the tune of Men in Black. How excellent is this? Unlike a Jetstar flight, everybody's watching the safety demonstration. And while all the passengers are absorbed in that, the flight crew are moving around the cabin slowly and carefully, checking seatbelts and luggage, making sure passengers are safe and comfortable at home. They're winning on every front. Doesn't it make sense if our students are walking around with devices that we identify the parts of our teaching that can be automated, which happen to be the parts that are urgent but not important, the parts that are preparing for the exams and not their future. And if we automate those, they can watch them anywhere and any time. And the exciting thing is this stuff's getting so easy. With apps like this, you can literally be walking to class and with a few taps record a podcast, edit it, add jingles and sound effects for fun, and have it online for your students to listen to the very next class. You don't used to take complicated software and external microphone. It's incredibly easy now. It's ironic that I was only given 10 minutes to talk about multiplying time using technology. So I've multiplied my time using technology and made a supplementary podcast for you, which you'll find here if you'd like to go with me further down this bike path. Thank you very much.